Alright, it's been a while since I posted any videos, so today we're going to be replacing the front disc of brakes on my 2014 Sierra, and we're installing these severe duty rotors by ACDelco and some professional grade pads. I believe these rotors are manufactured by Raybestos because I've seen the same squiggly surface on some of their branded rotors. Okay, keep in mind that the process we go through here today is going to be the same or similar on a lot of other vehicles, providing you have disc brakes. So even if you don't have a GMC or even a truck for that matter, go ahead and watch the video. It may help you out. Okay, I've got a quick soapbox moment. I don't usually do this, but we're 3 days away from our election here in America, and like many of you, I'm sure you're tired of hearing about it, but I'm pretty much tired of people telling me how to feel and what to think. So my advice to everyone who has the right to vote: go out there and vote for the direction that is best suited for you and your family. Ignore what your neighbor's doing. You can still be friends with them. In fact, you should be friends with them even if they're doing something different. It comes down to what's best for you, what's going to best suit your family, and ensure that your children have the best chance of success. Now, hopefully that statement means something different for everybody, and hopefully it's a bipartisan statement, but what we should do is not feel guilty because somebody tells us we should feel guilty. Just do what's best for you and your children. That's your job as a parent, by the way. Your job as a parent is to do what's best for your children, okay? So get out there and vote, and whatever that means to you, hopefully it helps. All right, let's get started. All right, so you can see I have the vehicle up off the ground, supported by a jack and a jack stand. Okay, safety first. The other thing we've done is we have removed the brake master cylinder cap because we're going to compress the caliper here. All right, let me grab the tripod. All right, so we'll start by removing these caliper pin bolts. These are the ones that have the boot kind of in front of them. All right, they're 19 millimeter. There's one on the top and there's one on the bottom. Okay, shouldn't be on there too awful tight. I think these get torqued down to 74 foot-pounds. Alright, with those two pin bolts removed, we should be able to remove the actual caliper. You may have to wiggle it a little bit, kind of compress the pistons. Alright, I'm going to use one of these handy dandy caliper hanger brackets. You can use a piece of wire, you can use a coat hanger, something like that. We're just going to hang it up here off the coil. Okay, big thing is you don't want to hang it off the brake hose, okay? Alright, next we're going to remove the 18 millimeter caliper bracket bolts. And see if we can get you a shot here. Right there, right there. Alright, and those are actually probably in there a little tighter. I think those ones get torqued down to 180. We'll go through all that when we reassemble, okay? Use a little gentle persuasion to break it loose here. Alright, let me remove this in the lower one, and then this whole caliper bracket and the pads and everything will come right off. This whole thing comes right off, alright? Next thing we're going to do is actually go and remove these boots and spray these down. I want to let them soak, and then we'll remove the rotor. Alright, so you can just knock the pads out. Hopefully your pads came with new hardware. If not, you want to be a little more gentle than this because you don't want to bend these tins out, but mine came with them, so I'm going to replace them. And the other thing I did is I did buy new boots. So if the brake pads didn't come with boots this time around, I think the power stop brakes that I installed last time, and again, this is my second video on these brakes. I installed power stop brakes about 3, maybe 4 years ago, and they've held up well as far as the pads go, but I've developed a warp. Okay, so I did buy new boots. If you don't have new boots, you want to leave those in place, maybe inspect them for tears. But I've had these off a couple of times because I also have done ball joints and the wheel bearing. I have videos on all those things. I can link to the whole playlist at the end. But I figured, since we're doing this here, let's go ahead and replace the boots here. So I've got a little flat screwdriver, and I'm just going to try to get under the lip of it. They're kind of tapped in. They can be a pain. Amazon comments indicate that people had a hard time with this, so I figured I'd show the process here. I'm just getting the screwdriver under the lip of the metal part of the boot. I don't know if you can see how it's separated now from the caliper bracket. You can do it other ways too. You could grab a hold of it with some needle nose vice grips or something. Alright, I guess we could have pulled the pin out first. Alright, we want that. There's the boot. Obviously that's a bad one. Okay, so again the pins will just pull right out. We're going to clean them all up, put new grease on them. Let's get that boot off of there. Give you a better look of the what we're actually doing here. Okay, we're getting the screwdriver under that little lip. Okay, that's what we're shooting for. Now I'm going to clean these out and spray them down and let them soak while we go remove the rotor. And we'll spray these pins down, let them kind of sit there for a second. Alright, let's go remove the rotor. Alright, so I have a T30 Torx right there. Yours may or may not have that, depending on if the person who had it off last reinstalled it. I did reinstall it, and I also used a little bit of grease when I did so, knowing that I would have to remove these rotors again. But it's not necessary to have it on there, because once you get your wheel installed, this rotor's not going anywhere anyways. Hey, these are the Power Stop drilled and slotted rotors, and again, I've been happy with them, but I did develop a warp, and it could have something to do with the way I drive. Alright, so you can see I have the caliper pin cleaned up pretty well. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to take a wire brush to this caliper bracket, primarily on the ends here where the new tins are going to set, because we want to get them on there well. Otherwise the brake pads fit real tight. And it can be kind of a pain sometimes to get them on, so you want to take a wire brush and sort of scrub aggressively, okay? And I was thinking about my my little soapbox commentary and how I was being a bit of a hypocrite myself by telling you what your job as a parent is, if you're a parent indeed. And you know, the world is full of hypocrites, and a lot of times people in charge, people who are telling you how to think and how to feel and what to do and how to act, are the biggest hypocrites of all. And that's I'd say that's true across the board. I've worked for a lot of people in a municipality setting, and quite frankly, the people who are running the show are the biggest hypocrites. And I think it goes right up through. So, again, I apologize. I know we've all been blasted with this type of thing over the last, basically this entire year. But there is a level of frustration for me as I see how people are treating each other, and it's all really because the people in charge want to maintain their power or want to gain power, and people are being manipulated, right? Emotions are a tool utilized for manipulation purposes. It's true in sales, it's true in religion, it's certainly true in politics, okay? Alright, let's go ahead and get these installed, alright? Okay, so you can kind of see how this goes. It's going to be tough to get it on camera. Quite frankly, these can be a pain. I'm going to try to center it as much as possible. This little piece here goes here. And then kind of press in. And again, the cleaner the bracket is, the tighter the fit, kind of in general. And you want that because when we go to slide the brake pads in, you want them to fit. Okay, so just try to center it. Alright, kind of like that. Next thing I want to do is get some brake hardware grease. Now, a lot of times they'll come with a small packet, and this one did. But I'm going to use my own. So let me grab that real quick. Alright, so this is the packet that the Delco brakes come with, and the Power Stop one kit came with them as well. Incidentally, I'm going to link to all these parts down below, as well as the Power Stop kit, because they've been great brakes, really. I think I warped my rotors, honestly, because I tow a trailer with two four-wheelers, and the trailer doesn't have active braking, although my truck has a tow package with the capability to have a trailer with brakes. I don't have a trailer with brakes, so I tooling down the interstate at 80 miles an hour with two four-wheelers behind me and then lay on the brakes. Okay, you don't need a lot. Okay, anywhere that the pad is going to come in contact with these tins, you want a little bit of grease. Alright, actually that's a little too much, so I'll wipe some off. Alright, so there is a difference. There's a pad that's curved, there's a pad that's straight, and you can see on the caliper bracket, there's straight, there's curved. Alright, so you know which one goes where. And obviously the pad itself points to the inside. What we're going to try to do is get one side in, and then the other side, just like that. So that went really well. Again, sometimes I struggle with these a little bit because if I don't take the time to clean the bracket, it can be a pain. All right. So here's the trick. Don't let that one fall out. And I don't know if you can see what we're doing here. Just going to get that in there. Now, if you get them in there cockeyed, it actually makes it worse. So you just want to get it started. And sometimes you've got to take your other finger and push down on the tin, because the tin is there to kind of provide tension on the pad. Like that. Just like that. Now we may have made a small mistake, and that is I didn't put my boots in yet. So when I tap those boots in, those pads may fall out. But alright, for the new boots, what we're going to do is we're going to take a socket. And this one, I'm going to use a 3/4. It appears to be the right size. I'm going to kind of wind the boot up into the socket without pinching it is the idea. And you could add a little bit of grease if you're concerned about it. We basically want to get the rubber of the boot up into the socket so that when we tap it in, we're just catching the lip of this boot, okay? See how we did here. Well, we did good with the boot, but I lost my pad. That's okay. Okay, so that's what we want the boot to look like, okay? Let me get the other one on, and then we'll get our pad reinstalled. Alright, so there we go. Pads loaded, boots on. Let's go get this installed. Alright, so remember where our torque screw is, because we'll need to line that up with the tapered hole here on the rotor. Incidentally, if you have a rotor that's covered with anti-corrosion film or grease, you want to spray that down. These ones do not have that. They are coated for anti-corrosion, but it's not something that we're going to remove. I can tell you that I believe these rotors are a little heavier than the Power Stop rotors when they were new, which hopefully means there's a little bit more metal to them. That's my hope. I'm not sure about these squiggly lines or anything like that. I don't know if they're actually going to help keep the rotor cool or keep the pads dust down or what have you. It could just be a gimmick. I have no idea, but hopefully they will be a heavier rotor, and they are coated for to prevent corrosion. And here in Maine, that is a concern, obviously. Okay, so we've got our caliper bracket fully loaded. We're going to slide that down over the rotor carefully so we don't lose our pads. And then we take the 18 millimeter, the longer bolts, and we'll get one started here. What we'll do is we'll just tighten these down for now, and then we'll torque everything down after the fact. I think these ones again were, I think 74, maybe 75 foot-pounds. Oh no, the caliper brackets, sorry. The caliper brackets are like 180. The caliper pin bolts are like 75 or 74. I'll look those up. But for now, we'll just get it tight. Alright, next we're going to take a C-clamp and we're going to compress the rotor here. Just lost the back plate to one of my pads. We'll stick that back on. Alright, make sure the pads are in there straight also. And again, I'm going to link to all these parts as well as these things here, these little caliper hangers. I mean, again, these are cheap. You could use a piece of wire, coat hanger, or something, but they come in handy. Okay, let me reposition the camera and grab a C-clamp. Alright, so what we're going to do is use an old brake pad. We're just going to throw that over the caliper pistons. We're going to use, I've got a 5-inch rather, C-clamp. And I'm just going to compress it. If I can center it, I will. Otherwise, I could use each side. This one's got the dual piston caliper. There we go. Nice and slow. And this is why we removed the cap on the master cylinder. Not saying that it's going to push back that far, but when we get done, what we'll do is we will put the cap back on, pump the brakes, and then we will top it off if we need to, all before we move the vehicle, right? We want to make sure the brakes are tight and functioning before we put it in drive or reverse or neutral. Okay. When you do that, be cautious. Make sure that you're not pinching any of the piston boots. Okay. All right. So we have our caliper pin bolts. I've got them greased up generously. I'm going to slide those in. And push them in all the way to make sure that the boot is seated properly. Okay, I'm just going to do the lower one. Probably won't move the camera for it. Same thing. You just push them in. Okay. Okay. All right. Now what we need to do is slide our caliper down over and make sure our brake hose is not twisted. And you may need to, when you get it in place, push in on those caliper pins to slide the mounting holes in by them. And that lower one's being a pain. Just like that. 19 millimeter bolts, we'll just get them started, at least one of them. So hopefully this video has been helpful. I know I've already done a bunch of brake jobs, but I was doing it anyways. Why not post a video? And I wanted to say hi to all of you. The other thing I'm going to do, again, I did the ball joints on these, on this truck not too long ago. I'm going to grease the ball joints and the tie rod end. And because I put Moog parts in, they all have grease zerks. And again, I believe these ones are 74, but we'll just get them tightened for now. Alright, at 74 foot-pounds on the caliper pin bolts and 180 on the caliper bracket bolts. And incidentally, I've done away with my Pittsburgh, or I'm doing away with my Pittsburgh torque wrenches and going with these Tecton. These things are nice. I'll tell you what. I'll link to them down below so you can read the reviews, but there's definitely a difference between these and the Harbor Freight torque wrenches, okay? When you dial them in, everything is smooth. There's no skipping, no hitching, and I didn't have the same experience with the Harbor Freight, okay? Let me get my larger torque wrench. We'll go 180 on the caliper mounting brackets, and then we're done. I am just going to, you know, grease up my grease zerks, like I said, upper, lower ball joints. But hopefully this video has been helpful. Give me that thumbs up if you did find it helpful. And if you're not a subscriber and you want to see more of this type of stuff, hit that subscribe button. And again, I don't do a whole lot of soapbox commentary, but I kind of thought it was time to share my thoughts on the state of where we are right now. And remember, it's up to you. Don't let anyone tell you how to vote. Don't let anyone make you feel bad for how you feel. And just do what you need to do for your family. All right? Hey, thanks for watching. Have fun and have a great day.